Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of 8-Bit Upstarts. My name is Nate,
I'm Tommy.
and today we're celebrating the release of
Baldur's Gate 3.
fairly highly anticipated, probably a little overshadowed due to Starfield coming out in like a month.
Yeah.
But plus Baldur's Gate 3 has been in early access for what, like a year and a half now?
Yeah, I think it was like almost 2 years, I
It's
think.
almost 2 years now, which that's kind of impressive in itself.
Yeah, and it's been really cool to because they'll do patches at a pretty, normal cadence. Like when they would update the early access, and like almost every patch, you'd have to start a new character. But then it like they release like huge swaths of like new content and new things to do, and like new ways to customize your character. Because the first time I didn't get it when it went early, like very first day. I got it probably like early 2021. Oh wait, so it's almost been 3 years. It was October of 2020 when it went in early access. Now that I
Oh
think
my
about it.
gosh! Wow. Okay.
So I got it sometime in 2021, and like the options to build your character were like, I think there were only like 7 classes, and now there's like 9 or 10, and like I think they just released multi-classing, which I haven't done yet.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's been really cool to like, you log in and you're like, oh, a whole new patch, but then you have to create a whole new character and start again. So that was like, I kind of got like to this point of, I don't want to do this too much because I've done this enough already, and I don't like want to get burnt out with like the first hour or two of gameplay because
Right.
I've done it so many times.
Yeah, it's weird, like for a game, like a big game like this, to be in early access for so long. And I actually like committed to not playing it.
Yeah.
Like I was very tempted to, but everything I was reading, and like I'm the same way. Like I didn't want to like play that same part of the game just over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Even like I feel like I would get burnt out before the game actually like fully released. So I told myself, it's like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna bear with it. Just wait it out. Wait for the actual like full complete release.
And now you got
and
2
then-
hours.
And now I know 2 hours. Yeah, that's 10 a.m. Central Time
Standard
for
Time.
us. But so yeah, like obviously it's gonna take a while to download. So who knows how long it'll actually be
Yeah,
before.
it was like 140
it said you need
gigs.
like 150 gigs
Yeah.
in space. So
And it's like, you should do it on a solid state drive, which like I know is like pretty common now.
right.
Like, but is crazy because like the early access is literally half that. So like that's what's like super more interesting is like I've been playing a game that started at probably like, I don't know, 50 gigs, and is like, I don't know, that might be a lie. I don't remember how much it was when I first started, but like it's 74 right now, like because it's still showing the early access one in my library. But like to go from 74 to like doubling that, like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to see
Exactly.
all of the things that they include now.
Yeah, so I'm glad I've waited. I wish I wish it wasn't so close to Starfield. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'd like to have some time to really like dive into this because I'm a big D&D fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But you
so-
have, because did you play any of the early Baldur's Gates, or like anything Larian did before, like Divinity, Original Sin, or anything?
No, so as far as like Baldur's Gate, I only played a little bit of Baldur's Gate. I can't remember. I think it was just the first one.
The original.
Just a little bit, and but so not even enough to really say that I even. Yeah, it's basically
Yeah.
I'm going in with a completely fresh canvas, in regards to other like action RPGs like that, no, I actually it's strange because I really enjoy it. Like, but like the main one I played is Diablo. And like you said, you have this list of like I've heard like great things about, like Divinity, Path of Exile, Torchlight, all those, but that's like right up your alley. So I'm kind of like, I'm ceding to your expert knowledge on these. But yeah, so like I guess just tell me your experience with these kind of games.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think, and it's you could almost break these down into like two specific categories, being like Baldur's Gate, Divinity, and it's like those like types of games, and then your Diablos and Torchlights, because like Diablo and Torchlight, there is no like pausing for combat and like that kind of thing. It's all live click, use spells and stuff like that. Where like Divinity and Baldur's Gate, not as much the first two Baldur's Gates, but like Divinity Original Sin and Original Sin 2, and then Baldur's Gate 3 are like turn-based, kind of like really like D&D, but on your screen. So you're like, you get into combat, everyone rolls initiative, your order then sets up that way, and then you start your characters, and you can only move so far unless you use a dash and all this stuff. So it's like, coming from my perspective of not having played D&D, but like really watching the live plays like Dimension 20 and Critical Role, I have an idea of how it works because it's using 5e, but like I also just we both love the Final Fantasy series, especially like back in the turn-based days. So like I'm all about like that, getting to not having a clock to strategize against. Like you can like literally just let it sit on your turn for as long as you want while you like figure out, okay, how do I want to move? How do I want to attack? What do I want? But the first one of those I ever played was Diablo 2, I think, back like Lord of Destruction, and absolutely fell in love with Diablo. Like I think most people did. Like it's just so much fun.
Like one of my favorite DLCs like of all time, like across all games.
It's
Diablo 2.
So
I spent
good.
So many hours, and it's I love it. And we can talk more a little bit about maybe like Diablo 4 in a little bit, but keep going. I want to keep hearing this.
So from Diablo, I was for this episode talking about all these types of games, I was trying to think of other ones like that, but I'm pretty sure it was just like, I guess there's like Titan Quest and another similar one that's also Baldur's Gate that I'm just thinking of now that came out on the PlayStation 2, the Dark Alliance, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and Dark Alliance 2. Those are more similar to like your Diablos, right? Like they're in that kind of vein. And I loved, I don't really know if I played the second one, but I played that first one and I definitely beat that one. That one was so much fun. But like kind of going from there wasn't a whole lot of other games that like caught my attention until a couple years ago. One of my buddies was playing Divinity Original Sin 2, and I was like watching it on Steam, and I was like, this game looks pretty dope. And he's like, if you download it and you jump in the game, you can take control of one of these characters, and like all of us can play together, because he was playing with another buddy of ours. And I was like, okay, sold. And it was like on Steam sale, so I like started playing that. And so then I've been playing Divinity Original Sin 2, which is like very similar to Baldur's Gate 3, but without all of the kind of D&D spice thrown on it. Because Baldur's Gate 3 has like, you get up and you do an ability check, and it gives you the dice, and you click and you roll the dice, and it tells you all of your advantages and your things like that. But beyond Divinity, also having played and touched on games like Torchlight, which is like a Diablo clone, but a little bit not as like gory. It's a lot cartoonier, but it's still a lot of fun. Like there's so much you can do. Specifically the second one I think is the best one. And then Path of Exile, which is like an MMO version of Diablo to a degree, where you can super customize your character, which is like almost a game in itself, figuring out how to build your character, which has their second one's dropping soon too, which is looking like it's going to be pretty sweet with some of the things they're implementing. But going back to kind of what we're talking about today with Baldur's Gate 3, I think I put like 21 hours into the early access, and like we were saying at the top of this, every time there was a new patch, you'd have to do a new character and start a whole new save, which is like, on one hand was kind of nice, because then I was like, okay, I played 6 hours of this Warlock the first time. And then in this new patch, they dropped bards. So I was like, okay, now I'm doing a bard. And so then, you get to experience a little bit of all of the classes, which is pretty cool. But it's been since it's been early access, there have been like, when I was first starting, there were like either no voice acting to a character when you'd find them, or there was voice acting but the character's mouth didn't move, so there would be a lot of weird bugs like that. Yeah. But it's been like, the combat has been incredibly polished in my opinion since I started playing the early access. Like it follows a lot of Divinity Original Sin 2, like, and I think Original Sin, it's the same like idea of combat, but just got that like D&D 5e spice thrown on it. So it's been so much fun to just kind of be able to, and as more classes have come out, like be able to build a character that I like think I would play if I ever played D&D.
Right.
Like you can, pick all of the things that you're proficient at, animal handling and all of that stuff. So it's like been really fun to like kind of pick a bunch of those and then just like go out and see what that opens up now in the game for me. And go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's kind of the reason why I wanted to wait. As much as I would love to like play every class and like just go through it, but it's just like I mainly wanted to just wait and see what the final options were, because I mean, again, always comes down to it. How much time do I have, to put into it? So I want to at least make that first playthrough the one I want to play through as, you know. So
yeah, that's the same. Like I always, that first character, I mean, I think that goes with like the way I do Fallout, the way I do Skyrim. It's like not necessarily maybe it's the good character, like, lawful good like idea where like, but like that's how it was my first Skyrim character was. It was like, I'm gonna be the good guy that does all the good things, and then is also just like super OP. And same with like Fallout. So like that's kind of where I'm, even when it comes out today, and I'm probably gonna play it a little bit, at least until Starfield comes out. I'm struggling right now to think of like what character I want to do, especially because I haven't played early access in a while, because none of your characters will save, so you have to start a brand new character for full release. And they have multi-classing now, and they like the whole, I don't want to give away too much of the story, but you can spec into like kind of the main point of the story too, so you can be like this kind of evil-y sort of character, which looks also cool. And I'm like, great, now I'm gonna have to create like multiple characters to do all these things, which I know will be fun. But I've been trying to think like, what is my perfect combination of like multi-class now that I want to do right out the gate.
Right.
So I'm thinking, I'm leaning Bard. I really do just like the the idea of the Bard, and like what it's a support character, right? Like, and that's how I always play MMOs. I always like being a healer, and like a ranged DPS. So it's like, that's like my sweet spot.
Yeah.
So like,
so that sounds pretty close.
Yeah. Like I'm leaning like Bard Lock, or like Bard Wizard, or, maybe something to that effect. Cause like in an MMO, like I'm healing other people playing, but there's something lost on me if I'm healing me, in effect, controlling other characters. Like I'm I'm healing the rest of my group. Like I'd rather have like a dedicated healer in the group, like a NPC doing that or whatever. So I don't know. I've been struggling trying to figure out what class I want to do, even though knowing I can build multiple characters.
Right. I know you'll probably get like in a couple hours and you're like, no, I'm not gonna. I don't want to do this, so I'm gonna switch up, start over. So I mean, I always lean towards tanky builds, melee fighters, barbarians, sometimes clerics, because I do like healing too. Like when I really got back into playing D&D at a table, I was kind of thrust into the role of healer and support. That's typically that was something I hadn't really done a whole lot of before, but I kind of really enjoyed it. So I'm curious. I may, because like cleric's kind of like this nice little, or even paladin really actually is probably a better instance of a combination of healing and also being a tank. But I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to it, and that's why I kind of like.
Yeah.
I'm glad I waited because I have like no idea what's gonna happen. So, we'll see.
I mean, it's cool too because we can like, it's like you can hop in games with other like your friends and stuff. Yeah, so like you can. I don't know how it's gonna work like with. Because you can start the game with like a custom build character, or you can pick one of the, I don't know, there's like 7 of like the named NPCs that can be your followers, and do like their origin story. So there's like so many ways you can play this game. So I don't know like if you can just like hop in with like your custom made character into a friend's game. I know you can start a game with a friend and both create custom characters and go about it that way. But I don't know if like, but I know you can like hop in, like if I'm playing a game and I have it exposed to, my friends like on Steam or whatever, and it's not just like private just for me to play, you can like request to join, or I can invite you, and then you can, like I said, I don't know if you can then bring in your character or if you can just take control of one of the like the named characters, and then that's now you while you're playing. Because that's how Divinity Original Sin was. Like that's what drew me with my buddy. Was we were playing, and he's like, yeah, if you join, you can take control of these characters in this fight and help us. And I was like, yeah, okay. And so then I just I just joined in the game, and they're like, which character do you want to be that's not already controlled by one of the other 2 people? And I was like, this is kind of awesome.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's cool. That's a feature I was not really fully aware of. So we'll have to check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
So, especially if we play the builds that we want to build, that would actually be very complimentary of each other. So,
for sure.
I'm also a big fan of playing synergy.
Oh
jargon,
yeah.
Business jargon. Like I said, like when I started playing D&D again, and the only reason I wasn't going to play a healer, but since they didn't have a healer, I was like, okay, I guess I'll play a healer. And it's like, but I mean, it's like I tend to like to fill out the group where like the weakness is, not necessarily like more often than not it ends up being tankier builds because the people I play with like to be like warlocks, sorcerers, rangers,
glass cannons.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that's not like a fighter or barbarian. And we all kind of like my whole group of players, just like we all kind of have our own little niche that we stick to whenever building a party. So that works out well. But anyway, but that's also a great way to like experiment, just trying new classes and stuff like that. So that's another thing I'm really excited for, is to try all these different. I'm curious to see what builds have carried over from 5th edition tabletop to the game itself.
Oh right, yeah.
So we'll see. And I'm gonna do actually, this is just like kind of off topic. Well, not really off topic, but not really a video game.
Whoa. Going off script here.
Yeah, we're going off script. I'm actually something I'm very excited about, actually. Speaking of D&D 5th edition, Marvel just released a tabletop RPG game.
No way.
Yeah, so it's currently, I don't know if it'll show up, but Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. So basically you can either, it's D&D to an extent, almost 1-to-1. But the dice system's a little different. It's just 3d6 instead of like all of the vast different die that you would use.
Oh, okay.
And you can either play as an existing Marvel character, or you can create your own superhero with its own superpowers.
Huh.
Yeah. So, and it just released yesterday, I believe, officially. So I snagged the core book, and I was reading through it last night, and it's really cool. I like it. I'm excited for it. I just need to convince my friends to
get it. And
to get into it. It doesn't seem too bad. As long as you played a little bit of D&D, a lot of it can carry over. You just kind of have to know what it's like. Oh, this is just that mechanic, and this is just that mechanic.
Just dressed up different.
Yeah, exactly. Like instead of like the dungeon master, you're the narrator. So
that's probably like trademarked, right? Like Dungeon Master.
I don't know if it technically is, but I know games that aren't D&D tend to use GM a lot, Game Master.
Right.
So and I guess there's not really a whole lot of dungeons in the Marvel universe,
Yeah.
so it's probably
could be.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, if you want, I mean, that's the thing is you can make it if you wanted to.
Right.
But anyway, so I'm really excited about that. But not to stay
cool.
off topic too long. But
yeah. Well, and I think that's like that is one thing because I've never played D&D, but like I said, I've watched a lot of the live plays, and I really enjoy them. That's like the one thing about Baldur's Gate 3. It's like the game that will probably get me the closest to playing D&D without actually playing it, because it's like it's still a video game, right? Like there's still you can't like you can do a lot. You can attack like scenarios in hundreds of different ways, but it's still not going to be the same as like
you don't have that
having a
full
DM
freedom,
right? Where you can,
or
like,
just complete like unexpected,
stuff. Be really outside the box on something, like talk to the DM and be like, oh, I want to try doing this, and they're like, okay, I'll allow it, do this check, and then
in the game you're still kind of like within the confines of the game itself. Whereas, like and trust me, I know with playing D&D, you can do some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Especially depending on how lenient your DM is.
Right.
Sometimes it's encouraged. So I think there was one time we had to cause like a distraction, so we just basically created a party wagon. We just like picked up a wagon and just ran into the middle of this town, just like blasting or playing music, like throwing out beer and like just like all this stuff, just like causing a complete, and like we were I can't remember what song we were playing in the back, like it at the table, like somebody like I put on music at the table, and I don't even remember, it was something like Prince or something. It
Purple Rain.
Like, yeah. and our DM was just like, okay, that's a little weird, but I'll allow it. Yeah. Yeah. So we all had a good time with that one. That was a good session. But anyway, so back on topic. So we kind of talked about how the game is played, and how it's similar to D&D and all those. But you said that the combat was really really polished.
Yeah. Well. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I guess is it like anything like unique compared to like, because I know you kind of said it. Would you say it was similar to like Divinity?
Yeah, the original Sin 1 and 2. So it's like when I said polished, I guess I was comparing that to like
for early access.
For early access, compared to all the other bugs that were in the game. The combat
worked.
was like, combat was like working pretty much every time.
Right.
It's pretty much exactly the combat from the original Sin 1 and 2, with the exception of you have the like dice will always roll when you do anything. In Divinity Original Sin, it's still turn-based, it still has movement and all of that. I think in Divinity, it's like there is no like dash mechanic, so it's like you can move, or like when you pick your character to like do combat when it's that character's turn, you see how far it can move, and like you can do all of that movement and then still attack after, because there's no D&D backbone to that game. It's like D&D adjacent for sure, but like there isn't explicit like, there's not dice rolling because we're not running off of like 5e or whatever. But this one, it's like you can move, you can see how far you'd be able to move and still attack, and then you can see if you hover over like dash, how far that would allow you to move, and like then you couldn't attack because then you've used an action,
right?
Kind of thing. So it's like I've probably not done everything that you can do with it too, because like it was like every patch too, there'd be like new buttons or new kind of tweaks to combat that I was like, I'd gotten so used to combat like doing it this way or doing it like the caveman way, like I go attack and that's all I care about. Like I didn't really start using like stealth as an option until like just somewhat recently. And like when you go into stealth, you see their like cone of vision, so you can kind of like watch how they're moving and kind of, because until they like spot you, you're moving like live, so there is no like turn-based thing. So you can kind of like try and weave your way to get close to someone and then like sneak attack them, and then you get ambush and surprise and all of that.
Right.
And then you can actually, depending on how you move your characters, you can send like 2 characters in, and if they get spotted, they're now in combat. But the other 2 characters, because they haven't been spotted yet, are still moving live. So you can then manipulate the battlefield to bring in these other characters to then, cause them to get a surprise attack potentially. So it's like I said, there's a bunch of different ways you can go about it. And I'm like, sometimes I don't really take the time to like look at and analyze the scenario. I'm just like, this guy attack, then that guy attack.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
It does feel like that was what they focused on first, was like, we have to make sure the combat's good. And then they kind of slowly got everything else to working order as well.
Okay, that sounds good. I mean, I haven't really played a lot of games that do have like a system like that, so that'll be all be new to me. But that sounds it's close to. I mean, honestly, it sounds pretty close to D&D.
It really is. At least I think, coming from someone who's literally never played it. But I mean, like I said, everything will like roll automatically when it'll just say like initiative, and then it'll automatically do it, and you'll see at the top like the battle order, and then so you can kind of, the only time it like when the computer's attacking, it just goes, so you can't really pause it unless you like stop. But once it gets to one of your characters, you can just like move around the battlefield and just kind of look at it and just kind of do some things to see. I don't know if they have like a because I think in Divinity you can, if you like move somewhere, like once you attack, then you've committed. But if you're moving and you like don't like where that went, you can like undo the move and then keep kind of trying to find like what way you want to go. I don't know if Baldur's Gate does that. I think once you've committed, once you've like clicked and moved somewhere. But I did like that in Divinity, where it's like, you tried to move and you thought you might be able to make this happen, but then something happens, right? Okay, well, I didn't really like that. I'm going to undo that move and try going this way instead.
But I mean, that's fair. I don't see anything really wrong with that.
The only thing too I haven't really seen, which I would like to see, but I don't know how they would have implemented it, is like when you have like a skill check and it pulls up the D20 and you click roll, and it'll tell you like whatever bonuses you have to like the roll. And when you roll the D20, there is like, if you get a nat 1 or a nat 20, I think it'll say like critical success or critical failure, but it doesn't really, how like that's a lot of the time in D&D where you like the imagination can go, right? Like if you get a nat 20 or a nat 1, it's like something hilariously bad, or you're just about to totally demolish this enemy is going to happen. Where this one is just like, you do critical damage, or you got critically hit, or you critically missed, but like there's nothing. That's like the one missing piece, which could potentially be there in the full release, I don't know, but like that's something I would have liked to see, like where they do something cool or funny on like a nat 1 or a nat 20. But I don't really know how you'd implement that either.
Yeah, that's kind of as far as like the tabletop goes, that is one of the more fun, like the more entertaining aspects.
Yes.
Because you have your ranger crit fails on an attack, and his bow breaks, and you're just like completely changes everything. Now obviously you can't do that really to an extent. Well, I mean, I guess you could have I don't know how the whole inventory weapons item
it's
works,
weight based, so you can, I think there is like a your Diablo inventory system. Everything just takes up 1 square.
Okay.
Once you fill up all the squares, then you can't fit anything else in there, but you can fit it completely full. I think it's just weight based, so you'll have encumbrance and whatever, which I don't know how that actually affects like combat or like moving or anything, but that it's kind of both.
It's funny actually that you mentioned it, because I was curious like how. So Diablo has kind of like that. As far as I know, Diablo kind of like established that inventory system with like the squares and the. But
them and Resident Evil, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a good point. I forgot about Resident Evil. But like, was it Diablo 2 where it's like, a sword takes up 3 vertical spaces and like a shield takes up like 4 square,
6.
Yeah. And I thought like it was really frustrating managing the inventory like that, but I thought it was a very clever system. For doing that. Now with Diablo 4, it's back to just one square, one item.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, so you can actually hold quite a bit in terms of like inventory wise, because you pick up a lot of stuff.
Right. Constantly.
Questing. Yeah,
it's basically looting.
And that's the bad part for me with that game is that I'm one of those people. I like to pick up everything. So it's just like, even if it's like the most useless, like just basic, sword or helmet, and it's just like it has like no value other than just like.
But I could sell it for 6 gold.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I already have like 1 million, like but what's 6 more?
Right.
So it's tough. Like it always kills me a little bit whenever I run past like items laying on the ground. I'm just like, I want it.
That's why I do like, and there isn't the color coding that we've become used to with games like that, where it's like, white is common, green, this is World of Warcraft system, but like green, blue, purple,
yellow,
orange. So like, I don't think Baldur's Gate has that, but in games like that, after you don't need like the whites and the greens anymore, I always appreciate when games include like the loot filter, so you can turn off seeing anything like that, so you don't.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I'm the same way. Like if I see it and it's like clickable, I'm picking it up. But if I have a loot filter on where I'm like, okay, I'm at the point in the game where, because like if it's a quest item that's like white, it'll still drop because it's a quest item or it's an important thing, right? Or like potions or whatever. But like if they are, if I don't need them anymore, I'm going to turn them off of the filter. So like you'll still see the animation, but it almost just looks like a part of the game, and you don't realize that that's like an item that you could pick up. You just have it filtered out. Right. So it's like, that's what I like doing, because then you only get.
Yeah, I've never played a game that has that kind of system.
I thought Diablo did it. Maybe they don't. I
mean, unless it was 3, I don't remember. I honestly can't remember the last time I played 2. I just remember I had a really good time playing it, but I don't remember the full mechanics. It's been quite a while since I played that. But regardless, I mean but in general, that's a clever way to deal with that. So you're not, because they know that there are people that are like us, where we're just like, ooh, loot, doesn't matter what it is,
shiny thing,
shiny things. So that's a good mechanic.
And speaking of mechanics, I wanted to touch on this too, because this is I think Path of Exile has that mechanic in it. I can't remember. I haven't really played that one as much as I wanted to, but I saw a video for Path of Exile 2 that's coming out here pretty soon. I think, I don't remember when the release date is.
So many good games in this short amount of time.
It's insane. But they have this really cool mechanic where, so in games like Diablo, you can have weapon sets where switch between a two-handed and then a sword and shield, right? Like you at the click of a button. Well, because Path of Exile's skill tree is just this giant web, and you can go in whatever direction you want. They kind of set up this synergy between weapon sets and talents. So you can set it up to your skills. So say you have, the way they described it was say you have a wizard or a caster character that has lightning spells and ice spells, and you have 2 different staffs. You have a lightning staff and an ice staff. Well, you want to use the lightning staff when you're using the lightning spells because of that synergy. You can set up the skills to, when you click the lightning skill, it'll auto-equip the lightning staff and then start doing that. And then as soon as you do your frost skill, it'll automatically switch to the frost staff. So you have that, but then going a step further, in the talent tree, you can have dual sets of talents. So you have talents for weapon set 1 and talents for weapon set 2. Okay. So when you pick you can attune your things to specifically this weapon set. So when you switch to that one, you have more frost damage because that weapon set has all of the talents and frost damage. And conversely for weapon set 1. And I was like, that is dope. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, that and it takes a lot of hassle away from, you know, swapping out like you said. You know, just having assigned skills for each weapon is pretty cool. Now I know with like Diablo 4, there's something a little similar. At least I've only played as the barbarian in Diablo 4. And you know, I have been playing as a dual wielder, so just two short swords or two hand axes. But whenever I whirlwind, it auto switches to my. I have it auto switching to my two-handed hammer maul.
Oh,
so you know, and
that's cool.
Yeah, and I think you can set options like, so when I do this ability, I want to use this weapon.
Yeah.
So it's similar.
That's cool.
A little similar.
Yeah.
But like I said, I haven't played any of the other classes, so I don't know how that works for other classes, if it does something similar, like you said, with like if you want to play like a necromancer and you want to cast like ice spells or whatever, and you know. But anyway, because with like the barbarian, you can carry two one-handed weapons and two two-handed weapons that you just carry on your back.
Oh yeah.
And now you can swap between, you know, said weapons kind of at will, but you can, I believe, set abilities to specific weapons in
That's cool.
D4. So yeah, it's actually cool. Unfortunately, with the season 1 patch of D4, didn't go so hot.
Yeah,
I honestly have not really played since the update for season 1 because I don't know, it kind of put me off a little bit.
Right.
I was happy with how it was prior, like from release to this first season, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just being, you know, like, it's like, I don't want to
get
play
off my
this
lawn.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play this anymore. I want a stupid game. But obviously, I'd like to say I'm going to give it another chance, but Baldur's Gate comes out today.
I was going to say too, like, you're almost in a position where you can have that attitude because Baldur's Gate's coming out today, and then in 32 days, Starfield comes out. Like, which are games that, like, we're always going, well, I don't know necessarily about Baldur's Gate for you, but, like, to me, those would be games that would trump Diablo 4 no matter what.
I would say so. The only reason, honestly, I picked up Diablo 4 is because I had some friends that were playing it, and
right.
You know, and I enjoy playing it with them. But if they don't feel like playing, then I don't really feel like playing. Kind of thing. It's like the only reason I do play is just to play with them. So unless we're all playing together, I don't have a whole lot of incentive to play Diablo's like solo right now.
Yeah.
So it's probably just going to turn into one of those games where it's just like, you know, once every couple weeks, we're like, hey, we haven't played this in a while. Let's just all hop on and just jam for a couple hours.
That's what I did with 3 sometime last year, like with a buddy. Like, we hopped on and I was like, I haven't played this game in like 4 years and it's completely different. And we played for like 30 minutes and I was like, I'm out. Like, this isn't, I just like don't even, like with Diablo, like Diablo 2, I feel like was different. And I couldn't tell you why, but like with 3 and 4, I know it's like all the same, where it's like I can play it through the story and beat Lilith. You know, that's the final boss, I think, right at the very end. And then all that game is just doing that again, but harder. Yeah. And I'm like, that's where I'm like I'm out. Like, I did the story, and I'm done now.
It's weird. I with like Diablo 2, and then Lord of Destruction subsequently. I did that, you know. It's like I get through, I beat Diablo, whatever. I don't remember. Was he Diablo was the end boss for 2, and then Baal was the boss at the end of Lord of Destruction. And I was just like, you get to the end, you fight him, and you're just like, cool, let's do it again. For some, like, I got that's how that game felt for me. I'm not getting that feeling from like the more recent Diablos. But there was just something. There was just a charm to Diablo 2 that
Yeah, well, so when I played Diablo 2, it had already been out for a while. Like when I got it, I bought it like with the Lord of Destruction DLC, which, because that was like what, the late 90s was Diablo 2, or maybe 2000.
Right. Yeah.
So like I didn't really play it until I was in like early high school. So I would have played it like 5 or 6 years later when it still had like a huge following, because like 3 didn't come out until I was in college, so it took a long time. But like with 2, it felt like it was not necessarily like easy, but not like overly difficult to beat the game. Like it was like it took time, right? Like is that an accurate statement?
Yeah.
Where, like,
it definitely took time, especially if you wanted to like. But it gave you the options, like if you like, because like you could change the difficulty. You could, if you want to try to get a full set of armor, if you want to try to get like the perfect weapon, there it gave you options to commit more time to it, and you were okay with doing that because it felt balanced. It didn't feel too grindy, but still a little grindy. And I think, that's kind of like one of the big problems now that Diablo 4 is facing, is that they made it way too grindy.
Yeah, and like I felt like that with, and I haven't played 4, but I played 3, and it felt like we beat the game on like the first difficulty in like, I don't know, 8 hours or something. Like it did not feel long. And then it was like they like had built in the fact that you were going to be doing it again harder, and doing it again a little bit harder, and doing it again a little bit harder. And I was like, that's not the point. Like I would have rather had a longer game to then go back and maybe play again if I wanted to.
Yeah, and we kind of run into something. Well, I won't say we've run into like that specific situation with Diablo 4, but we definitely have had to mess around with the difficulty to make it kind of worthwhile, because I'm not going to be playing this a second playthrough. I just like don't have that, and like I just don't have any urge. I guess when I did 3, I played it twice. I did it normal, and then I did it hell, which I think was at the time the second difficulty. And then I was like starting on the third one, and I remember getting to like act 2 or something and not having the right amount of gear to get to the next act. And I was like, so what you're telling me is I have to grind this act to get better gear to do the next act that I've already done 2 other times. And that was like, I think the point where I was like, and I'm done. Yeah.
Like that is not remotely fun. It was for me.
I think Diablo 2 was just so well balanced in terms of like it just hit that sweet spot of kind of like everywhere, and it feels like a lot of games now are all geared toward microtransactions, or like the guys that do like the hardcore mode, or
seasons too.
Yes, and the seasons. So it's just like it's not conducive to how I want to play Diablo, right?
So, well, and like I almost this is still a video game, but it's kind of off topic. But like going with that, it feels like a lot of games aren't really focused on the features that I like anymore. Like extrapolating that to like Madden, and for at a lesser extent some of the other sport games, it's all about that like Diamond Dynasty or MUT, or with like that's literally what they've said they're focusing on, is like those things,
because that's the moneymaker for them,
right? And they have like completely abandoned like franchise mode, and like even the create a character kind of storylines feel really weak and kind of dumb. And I'm like, that's the stuff that I like doing. And I think in like sports games, that's what I like doing, because I cannot play competitively at all. Like
and I don't want to, honestly.
Yeah, me either. Like I'll maybe play with my friends. I just want to chill. I want to.
Outside of my friends, I don't really care about playing Joe Stranger, who's going to just wreck my my team. Because they've been practicing for like 30 hours.
And they have like
in the past day.
And they have like Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, exactly.
And, Justin Jefferson is their wide receivers.
Right. So it's just like I like being able to play games at my own speed, at my own difficulty, and having the control to do that. And you know what? I love the franchise mode because I actually got a kick out of building a stadium. I got a kick out of setting concession prices for to maximize revenue. I miss that stuff. Like it really like really peak Madden was like early 2000s, like 2005, 2006.
Well, I did see a tweet or something that was like, kids today will never know how awesome it was to play NCAA 06 and then import your college character into Madden 06. I think it was 06, maybe it was 08. It was an even number year in the 2000s.
Yeah, it was around there though.
So you could like, you take your creative character and go from the beginning of college to retiring in the NFL.
You're basically like creating it like your my story or whatever, my career.
And that is like,
that was really cool.
That's the coolest thing. Like NCAA is actually supposed to be coming back next year, I think.
Is it?
Which I'm kind of interested to see if that's still good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but like that whole concept, because like, God, I can't think of something more fun to do, and I know that that's not like a small percentage of people that would like that. I know that's a pretty big percentage, because I've seen it like be like, people want that, then they want them to focus on those things again, but they won't, because that's not going to make them money.
Well, see, but here's my thing: is just like, why not both?
Yeah.
Like, is it that hard? Yeah. I mean, I get that they're trying to do as little work as possible to maximize as much money as they can bring in.
It can't be that hard when they just reutilize all of the assets from the previous year's game.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it feels like it just takes them like a month or two just to pop out the next generation one or next year's version. And it's just like,
here's a reskinned game with new rosters.
These are things that already existed at one time, and you just took them away. How hard is it to put them back?
Right.
Why did they even need to go away in the first place? It's like, why did you need to take them away? Is it just because you just didn't want to work on them anymore? Because like you want to put all of your resources into like MUT or Diamond Dynasty? It's just, I don't know. I haven't really played Madden since they've gutted franchise mode.
With a lot of sports games, like I won't buy like every consecutive year normally, because most of the time it is just a reskin.
It's just
with
an updated
new
roster.
Yeah. And so like I'll usually wait like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years in between. And I think the last Madden, I never really played Madden a whole lot. Like I was always like, I love MLB The Show. I feel like that's one of the ones that like they still do a really good job of like implementing other features like that are more single player.
MLB The Show is kind of like the watermark. I'm just waiting for it to come out on PC now.
I know.
I want it so badly.
It is sort of.
It is sort of if you want to go through
Game Pass.
Yeah, but I don't. So give me that PC port.
Right. I mean, it came out for the Switch, so it's
it's like come on, the Switch, and you're just like isolating, like or not isolating, but just completely ignoring this whole demographic of PC players.
But like, so I have MLB The Show 22, like last year's version, and before that I think the last one I had was like 18, and I will say I did buy the last 2 Maddens, but before Madden 22 the last Madden I had was 16. So
the last Madden I bought was the one that had that featured Pat Mahomes on the cover.
With
that was the main reason why I bought it.
Oh, you know what? I think I do have that one too, because
for Chiefs.
It just I think I have it for like a system that I don't own or can't play it on, because I don't know if I have it on my PlayStation 4 or if I have it for the Xbox. Like I bought it just for like the like what do you call it, memorabilia sake. Like I only have it just because it's got the Chiefs like the quarterback on it, because then and the 22 has Mahomes and Brady on it, so it's like okay, close enough, right? It's still Mahomes.
Well, like just put a sticker over Tom Brady's face.
Well, I have it on Steam, so I don't even have
you don't have to worry about the cover. But it's I mean, I could get into this whole rant and rage and
we could go
about Madden and
sports games,
but I think we're gonna probably wrap it up here. But it, like I said, it's Baldur's Gate Day, so we're probably next week gonna try to hit you with some of our experiences. We'll probably have some good hours played to that extent, and we'll be happy to let you know how we feel about it. If you also, if you're going to pick it up on release as well, be sure to let us know how you feel about it.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah,
hit
like,
that
comment,
bell.
and subscribe. Yep. We're talking to you, Steve.
Yep.
It's all about Steve. Yeah. So we'll let you know how we feel about it, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to play it for this next month, and then I'm gonna set it aside and probably not touch it for a while. But we still got that 30 days of Baldur's Gate committed to it.
Yep. It's actually less if we have like
that's true,
digital
early access.
Yeah,
for
we'll get
Starfield.
it September 1st, I think.
Yeah. Well,
it's gonna
sorry,
be great.
Baldur's.
We'll get back to you eventually.
Yeah.
Next
when I need to take a break from
2024?
Starfield. Yeah, 2024.
What do you mean take a break?
Yeah. I don't want to get burned out on Starfield. I'm not going to get burned out on Starfield.
Did you get burned out on Skyrim? 12 years later.
So just quickly, I'll add, whenever I get burned out on Skyrim, I just start a new character. Same with Fallout too. It's like any Bethesda game. If I get burnt out, it's like, oh, this is just too much.
Do you get burnt out, create a new character that ends up turning into a stealth archer again?
I plead the fifth. I have no comment, but I try. I swear, I promise. But
it's just so OP.
It's just so good. It's just so OP. All right, everybody, we're gonna roll out. But again, let us know what you think if you end up getting a chance to play some Baldur's Gate. Otherwise, we will talk to you next week. And we are the 8-Bit Upstarts. My name is Nate.
I'm Tommy.
And we will catch you on the flip side.